Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. We're down here in Park Slope with a cat who people will always remember as a melodic and rhythmic drummer, healer. Tony Mason, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey, it's good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my brother. I just wanted, I saw you the other night with Jeff Hill, and you're going on the road with Amy Helm, with Jeff. And so, is that right? Is that the rhythm section?
Yeah, Jeff will be joining us in August and parts of September.
Here's the point. What do you love about? You guys don't play that much together, but what do you love about playing with Jeff?
Oh well, Jeff is someone that I've been playing with since the late '90s. We played in a band called Goats and Trees with Jason and Monica Krigler and
Goats and Trees.
Goats and Trees.
Goats and Trees, man.
Yeah, and I had first heard about Jeff. Jeff and I both played with a singer named Holly Palmer, and we kind of missed each other by a little bit. And I had heard about him. I've been really wanting to play with him. But anyway, this band kind of came up, Ghosts and Trees, and he's just one of those musicians that it was just right away, right off the bat, I immediately related to the way he plays, and he's so easy to play with. He's got such a great sound, and he's a friend. He's a good friend of mine. So
it's beautiful. I mean,
it's very easy to.
Louis Hayes told me that the cats that he played with, Cannon, those guys, they never told him what to play. They loved everything he did. How do you take direction? What is the most positive way to take direction as a drummer? Because Louis made it very clear you're the heartbeat of the band, and because I guess it was just more like a hands-off approach from the Shaman Cats. It was just they brought you in to do what you did, and I wonder how often you get that kind of flexibility.
Oh, I get it a lot. I do.
Right on. Give an example. I mean, that's pretty cathartic.
Well, I mean, Eric's band, for example, he wanted me to play in his band because he liked what I did. I mean, it's not to say that if something is not working, we'll talk about it and he'll make suggestions. But as far as at this point, I'm in my I'm 52, and a majority of the work that I do is people are calling me to do. They know how I play. They know what my tendencies are. Stylistically. So it's very rare that it hardly ever happens now that I get called in to do something, and you have that feeling right away of I'm just the wrong guy, and that happened.
I'm talking about studio dates, not necessarily touring.
Anything in general, yeah. Studio, touring, just gigs around town. It's mostly, okay, this is what Tony does, for better or for worse, and we want him. I mean, I think...
well, no, I got to tell you, Lunatico, that was worthy, tenfold. It was a healing experience.
Oh, thank you. You know what?
It was fun. That doesn't happen every day.
Here's the thing with Jeff. That was his first gig. He's been real busy with Chris
Robinson, right?
And that's starting to I think.
It's going to take a hiatus.
I think there's a hiatus coming up. So Jeff's got some time in his schedule, and but that gig, Jeff was the original bass player in the Eric Deutsch band. And so that was kind of a reunion of sorts. And he's had great bass players in between. Freddie Cash, Jesse Murphy played on the last record. So there's no shortage of amazing bass players. But I think that gig had a little extra. It was extra special because it was nice to have that reunion with him.
What do you think about the four-piece rhythm section? Because I mean, like bass, he had Freddie Green and Harold Jones, the cat. I love Harold so much. He's such a great dude. And then Basie, and then there was a bass player. And I can't remember the bass player's name, but it was 4-piece rhythm section. So you had Avi, who was basically playing just like hypnotic funk rhythm guitar.
Oh yeah.
And then Eric would play that. Hill would play. You would play. So it was a 4. Do you think it's a lost art in melodic music today?
You mean as far as
Having four-piece rhythm section.
Well, I don't know if it's a lost art. I mean, I think in a lot of instances the playing has changed within rhythm sections.
Explain how.
Well, I think I've had conversations with a lot of people on this subject, and I think the tendency is to play a lot more these days, which I kind of understand in a way. I don't know if this is right. This is just my thought on
This is your time, man.
my time.
Your truth.
But I think it also runs parallel with the way the world is right now. You know, everything is so fast. Everything is just it's
Instantaneous.
It's driven by technology. And I can hear that in how people are playing. It's also mirrors, and I know, I'm guilty of this as well, of just being on the phone too much and sort of getting in your own head. We're back in the old school, not sound like a,
No, I love this analogy. What you're, but yeah.
Whereas, back before this came about, it was a lot of things in order to make things happen or find things out or hear drummers play or hear great bands play. It was a human to human experience, which is not so much now. So I think the way how I came up playing, how my favorite drummers, my favorite rhythm sections, it was all about support. Yeah, it was all about supporting the singer, all about supporting the song, all about supporting each other, really. And I think the tendency was actually not. It was about playing parts,
and rhythm was appreciated as an art form. It was a craft. I mean, it was. You said there's a lot of language now in the rhythm section, and it's very fast. So it's like you almost talked about before, riffing on that sort of sociological point about the fact that more music is made in isolation today, and so people are more verbose with their language, but not necessarily learning to play within the context of a group.
Right. It comes down to the rhythm as a feel. How do the rhythms feel, as opposed to maybe more its tendencies to, it's like, well, I can play incredible rhythms, but it might not necessarily be the right thing to play, or it might not have anything to do with what's happening musically. I don't know. Sometimes I hate to say that comes up a lot.
How do you try to mentor today? Because I'll tell you, cats older than you, they go on the road, they make a lot of money if they're in a and bless them for it. Steve Miller and Journey and bands like that, they've been playing the same show for 40 years. And maybe they don't even like each other in some cases. But how do you choose your the gigs you play? Do you have that kind of flexibility within your career at this point?
Picking and choosing.
What do you? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I don't think. Financially, I don't think I have the ability to just to do whatever I want. But going back to what I was saying earlier, because I've been around, a while now. I've been doing this, and I think this is true for any musician. You get a reputation, and sometimes you can even get pigeonholed in what you do. So as far as picking and choosing, no. But then again, I'm not really getting called for stuff that's just completely out of my wheelhouse. You know, it's all.
What was the weirdest date you were called in on in your career?
Wow, the weirdest date.
Well, where somebody basically said, I know it does, that's not his wheelhouse, but we're going to call him in anyway. And it worked out.
And it worked out. I'm going to have to.
Or it was a train wreck.
Or it could have been a train.
Yeah, either way. Just it was a situation where you really had to think on your feet.
I got called. It's about maybe 20 years ago. I got called to do a couple of nights at this Zinc bar with this heavy Latin jazz band, and I love Latin music, and I have my own way of playing Latin rhythms, you know, a la Steve Gadd and stuff like that. But it's like the really authentic stuff. So that was a gig. I can't even remember the band now, where I gave the band leader a heads up, like, you know, I'm really flattered. I don't necessarily know if I'm the guy. And he goes, no, we're going to put in a lot of, you know, groovy stuff and pocket stuff, and it ended up being like just straight up hardcore Afro-Cuban. Like, man, I'm not. So, but we
Did it? I mean, but I mean, you guys kept it together.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
it worked out.
It worked out.
You didn't have any rehearsal in advance. You just showed up and he was like, "Dude, you're gonna be fine, man."
I don't know if I don't think we rehearsed. No, and this is New York. A lot of gigs in New York. There's no rehearsals. You just kind of come in.
People are asking for you to demonstrate your version of Latin rhythms.
People are asking me to do my version of Latin rhythms.
Well, you said you do it differently than.
Oh no, I don't do. No. I don't do. I try to cop. The style as much as possible. I just don't do it a lot, so it's nothing like, you know, I can, you know. Whatever, I can get around, but I think I was mentioned it because I was a little nervous because the musicians who were on the gig were really. That's what they did, so that would be. But it was no train wrecks really, and for the most part so far, hopefully.
What would you say? I guess that was my question. Like in terms of, so a lot of cats go and they're on tour prolifically, so they make enough bread. But a lot of cats that are older than you and me are finding different ways of giving back, and a lot of it they lose money on, but they create these communal environments, these regional centers where cats can get together and play and develop their own individual sound. And I wonder if you're involved with any creatives. Those creatives were everywhere when you were coming of age in the 80s.
Yeah, there were things like the Barry Harris Jazz Workshop, which was a great thing. There are a couple things around in this neighborhood, actually. What's my man? Matthew Garrison has a spot, and I'm forgetting the name.
Well, what do you do specifically in terms of keeping the cycles going? Is it teaching? Is it, aside from just being on the bandstand?
To make a living? Or
No, just the sacred, the staying on the righteous path. Passing it up, passing it forward.
Well, I do a little bit. I have some students. I do a little bit of teaching, and I'm always, I'm always open to talking to younger musicians if they have questions. I try to talk to them and learn from them as well. In a way, but just try to be open and help when I can,
Do you talk to them? Can you talk to the audience about the calling that you need to be a musician? I mean, it chooses, the music chooses you, right?
I think for the most part.
Can you talk about how it chose you?
Playing the drums was something that I just naturally gravitated towards at a young age, around 6, 7 years old, and even though I maybe had some other interests in school, in high school, I was I was a big tennis player. I was really interested in that. I wanted, play
McEnroe.
Yeah, well, my man was Connors.
Connors is the man, dude. I mean, that was the heyday of
Love him or
tennis.
hate him, but played with a lot of
Fire.
kids. Oh, he had some vibe for days. I watched that.
Those guys would have been sick musicians.
Yeah, Connors had played with a lot of guts, man.
But that's you drifted from sports because of the spiritual quality of music.
I think music was always going to be number one. I just had it didn't really. I think it wasn't really until the middle of high school that I took it to another level as far as commitment and my passion for it. I always loved playing the drums, but I think it was around my junior year of high school that I just decided that this is what I'm going to do, and then I just took it up, a notch and started studying. And went to some summer music festivals, summer music camps, and that got me really excited.
Would you say that most of your learning was on the street, outside of the academy?
A combination.
Can you wax poetic about the street scholar mentality? I'm telling you, it's absolutely essential.
Here's the thing, like, I think my experience in New York was a really nice mixture of scholastic and on the street because it was New York. But I was going to music. I went to MSM, Manhattan School of Music, and I definitely learned a lot of stuff there. But it was in a lot of ways, it was a place where I could store my drums and practice. But the most of the learning.
There's too many walls up around there, right? I mean, there's too much. There's no communal stuff in academia.
Well,
I mean, I interviewed Billy Harper at the New School. I sat in the lounge outside the elevator, and I'm just seeing all these beautiful people with instruments and stuff, and but it just feels kind of sterile. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think. As far as like playing jazz, those guys didn't go to school; they learned on the gig, and so I think that at the end of the day, I think that still applies today. I learned the most by sitting in and playing gigs and falling on my face and just getting up the next day and doing it all over.
Can you talk about falling on your face?
Oh yeah, just playing, just having gigs where just. All of my weaknesses were just so apparent, and or getting screamed at by the band leader, or getting vibed, or not getting called back. That's one way to really.
That's a wake-up call, man. How do you handle that adversity, man? That's deep. I work for myself, so it's like I don't have to worry about not getting the call. I mean. Anyway, talk about that for younger cats because I think people have to be resilient. This is a racket, and it's a call.
That's a good point because I think you have to in a lot of ways to do this. To be an artist, to be a musician, anything in the arts, you're gonna have sensitivity. You can't do it without sensitivity. You can't do it without. You got to
give it your all.
You have to emote. You have to. My favorite musicians are the ones that maybe are not as technically incredible, but they just kind of give off a feeling. If you listen to someone like Brian Blade playing, it's spiritual. A lot of other musicians like that.
Sunship.
Oh yeah. Coltrane.
Well, Elvin, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a feeling, and it goes beyond the instrument sometimes. So I'm getting off the subject.
No, you're cool.
Well, so there's got to be that element, but there also has to be. You have to have a little bit of tough skin, and really try not to take things so personally, which is easier said than done. But I think part of improving and getting better is just that you're gonna have to deal with constructive criticism, and if you don't like it, you're gonna have to find a way to change that and turn it into a positive and really look at it like, well, instead of I don't like this guy, he didn't like my playing. It's like, well, no, actually, this person actually could help me out because had this certain thing not been pointed out, I might not realize it. You know what I mean? So I think you have to just look at it like an opportunity for growth and improving, and which means take what they have to say seriously, listen to it, which is not to say that everything that people say you have to agree.
Well, there's a difference also. Like, I mean, if they're like personally attacking them, and they're that makes them upset. But if it relates to their actual improvement as a team player or as a musician, why would you? If you respected the person, you should at least internalize it. I guess. How did you cross paths with Babatunde Olatunji?
Oh wow. That was a great experience. I played just 2 or 3 shows with him. That was through a good friend of mine named Ken Rich, who's a bassist, and he runs a studio in Williamsburg, Grand Street Recording, that I've worked at many times. Great guy, and Ken turned me on to it, and we played a couple shows at SOBs, and we did a rehearsal, which was probably the most fun that I played with him. That was pretty spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. He was great, man. He was really incredible. A legend. So that was that happened. How long was that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's part of your portfolio, and I mean, it suggests that have you been to the motherland before?
I never. No.
Most people think civilization started in Greek and Rome, but it really started in Africa.
Yeah. No, I've never been there. I would love to. I mean, I think Ken went over there. I think they had some shows over there. I couldn't do it, but.
What do you feel about labels in music?
You mean?
Well, I was going to ask you what your concept of. Some people, what your concept of jazz is, or do you think that word shouldn't even be used anymore? Because you get 20 different definitions of that word.
Well, within jazz, there's a lot of different.
There's subgenres, right?
There's subgenres, yeah.
But like McLaughlin said that like Coltrane fused the spiritual music with jazz. Mm-hmm. So that would be, when I hear that, that's my favorite. So it's the fusing of the spiritual with the with not following what's on the page. That to me is that's what it is. It's spiritual music.
Yes.
Gary Bartz tried to make an album about Coltrane. He did make an album dedicated to Coltrane. They said, well, what, we're going to put it under jazz. He's like, no, this is spirit. This is gospel. This is gospel. And they said, no, it's not Christian. All right.
I see.
Right.
Right.
So do you think that labels are constructive on the whole in this time that we live in, when there's like you said, there's 17 different flavors,
I mean, it's probably something that's never going to change. It's something that's always going to get labeled. Sometimes, like, for an example, sometimes I'll work with, when I work with, like Amy Helm, here's an example.
Yeah.
She'll get labeled a lot as, Americana.
Roots Americana.
Roots Americana, but, a lot of the time,
exactly.
It's really not what's happening.
What is it, man? What is it?
Well, there's a lot of rock and roll. There's a lot of soul music in there. There's a lot of, it's kind of like Delaney and Bonnie, kind of that.
White soul, white blues. Not roots.
I wouldn't even say white blues. I would say
blue-eyed soul. No.
Just kind of not always Americana.
Not square.
Not square. It's a lot of different things, but sometimes.
Wow.
I think that's what music business people like to, because they don't understand it, or maybe they don't even take the time to understand it or figure out what it is for themselves. They just have to put a label on it, and that's that's just how it goes. But I think also with where jazz is going, there's so many and jazz festivals, right? I mean, it's not straight ahead. It's not really jazz, but they get booked at a jazz festival.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The terminology's had moved the music, drifted the music so far, and I think that, John Graboff is tuning in. I mean, what's your experience playing with that cat?
Boff.
Dude, I'm telling you, you want to talk about an omnivore when it comes to music. That guy
He's an encyclopedia. John's an incredible musician, and we've done a lot of records together and some tours, and yeah, he's someone that I have a lot of respect for. Good man.
Did you go on the road with Shooter Jennings?
Yeah, I subbed for Tony Leone.
That's awesome.
Shooter, yeah.
Shooter really knows how to pick the cats, man.
Well, I'll tell you, as far as that's concerned, the whole Shooter and his New York band, Eric Deutsch had a big role in that. He kind of got
infusing that rhythm section, or getting everybody.
Yes,
really?
Because he got Jeff involved, and Graboff was not necessarily playing in.
He found his way in there.
But he wasn't in Eric's band, but he was in the
he was in the milieu.
He was in the circle.
Yeah, I did.
I forgot who the original. I think the Mastersons played on the record. Chris Masterson.
Sure.
And
Tony was on drums.
Tony was on drums. I think Shooter knew of Tony through Ola Bell. It's all intertwined,
No, I just look at Shooter's band. I mean, that was a cooking groove. I mean,
that was a really,
you could have just gone out for an instrumental set.
Really great band, and the thing about that band also had a big rotating cast too. So there was Steve Elliott played guitar, Chris Masterson played guitar. Scott Metzger,
legendary cat. I mean, there's just so much.
Yeah.
These regional pockets.
I'll tell you, man. New York. If you just talk drummers, the bench is pretty deep here. And also rhythm section.
Deep bench, man. Deep bench in the drum section.
Well, in the whole, the rhythm section in general. I mean, I've always said that maybe the bass chair has the deepest bench out of all the instruments.
Is there a supply and demand issue, though, do you think, in terms of too many musicians, not enough places to play? I mean, are people just wasting away on the bench? That's a travesty.
I mean,
I'm talking like gigs, not play for the door, pay to play, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's happening. I mean, I've dealt with a certain circle of people, even though I've met, different musicians along the way. Usually, after a while, you start to work with a certain core of players. The players that I work with, most of them are working all the time. They just happen to be really, great players. I mean, Andy Hess,
monster, dude. Monster. All these cats. This is. I mean, what's the future? Do you pay attention to? We just talked about kind of one. There's these West Coast cats, Brian Rashap, Mike Pascal, all these guys, the Terrapin Crossroads guys, sort of a little bit older generation.
Right.
And then you have your generation. You guys are kind of not the graybeards, but you are the.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah, like the Sharks. And then what do you see underneath it? The younger cats, the millennials. Like, does it inspire you to see? Do they have that same kind of calling for the music? Dom Fumolaro said, it's like priesthood in some ways, the calling of music.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, it's not logical if you're going to go for it.
It's not, especially now. I mean, I man, going to a major music conservatory now, I can't even imagine it, man. I mean, you're talking about $60,000 a year
Right.
to go to.
Someone else said that the other day.
School,
Yeah, Lou Tabakin's grandson, who's Toshiko's grandson.
Yeah.
$57,000 to go to Berkeley.
Yeah, it's nuts, man, and it doesn't promise you anything. And I think you're right. You have to go into it. It's just got to be something that I have to do this. I have to. And I think there are a lot of young players who have that hunger and have that passion and that are going for it. I mean, there's a lot of great talent out there. So there's not as many places to play, and as you know, and as everyone knows, the business has changed a lot. The recording aspect of it that's why a lot of people are kind of starting to move to Broadway.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just doing Broadway shows and stuff like that. That's been a popular thing. That's gotten more and more popular.
Just playing with people.
Doing musicals, like playing on shows and stuff.
But I'm saying, like, with the studio scene, like Don Randy will come in and he'll plug in his keyboard, play the part, and go home. There's no rhythm section. You don't cut it with regular people, with human beings a lot anymore in the studio.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm saying, what's the incentive to play in the orchestra pit?
Steady paycheck.
Dig. Okay, so monetary. Okay, I missed that.
Steady paycheck.
Yeah, you got to sing. Yeah.
Not wanting to go on the road, having families. I mean, I've been subbing for the great Ben Porowski on Hadestown. So I kind of didn't think I would ever do Broadway, but it's an incredible show. So it's getting a lot of.
Before we wrap,
Yeah.
I've had some great hangs. Most recently with Cyril Neville and George Porter and Bill Summers and Dr. John just left us. And the New York Times in the title had Mardi Gras, but Mardi Gras was a name that was given to it. It was Carnival. This is the original rhythms of diaspora. Just like everything was renamed. And I was hoping you could play a little bit of those Afro-Cuban rhythms to wrap this up in honor of Dr. John.
Sure. We could just a Dr. John groove, or
You play with it's your tribute to Doctor. He was everywhere, man. That guy was everywhere.
All right.
Do you get a chance to hang with him ever?
Dr. John, once I played with Leo Nocentelli, the guitarist from the
A dear friend of the program.
Yeah,
dear friend of my program. Yeah, I love the cat, man.
Leo's legendary.
Dude, as Grant Green, same discussion as Grant Green.
One of the great rhythm guitar players of all time, and Ziggy's my brother-in-law, so I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Dude. Talk to him, man. Keltner tried to get to him for me. I need to get to Zig, man. He's avoiding me, man.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, I know he is, but you put in a good word for me. He wants to get paid. I can't. I'm not making dough on it.
Well, I'll let you
That's
know.
cool. Right on. So Zig is your father-in-law?
No, he's my brother-in-law.
He's your brother-in-law.
Yeah, he's married to my oldest sister, Kathy.
Mazel tov, man.
Yeah, he's great.
But you knew him obviously before that.
I knew a little bit through Leo. Leo had told Zig about me, and then we met once in the Bay Area. I was on tour, and I went to go see him play and introduce myself, and then those two met. There they are.
Ode to the Night Tripper, man.
Yeah.
Play something elastic or something.
Okay.
Tony Mason, man, burning it up, man. Thanks for healing and your enlightenment.
Well, thank you. I'm just real honored to be here.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Dr. John. Tony Mason, much love, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
The Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.